All right. How is everybody doing? We are on episode, I think this is number 7, or could even be 8. So we're going to go, I think, to 9, possibly 10 episodes. And what we've been working on is this model right here. Turn this audio off. Okay, and before I start working on it, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me okay. So this is going out over Twitch and Facebook and also YouTube. There might be a little bit of a delay, but I just want to make sure that the audio is working fine. So Tim, hello. And if you guys could just kind of chime in and let me know if the audio is coming across well. And as soon as I get the okay that the video and audio is going okay from at least a few of you, I can go ahead and proceed. Right. Okay, audio is perfect. Oscar, great. Thank you. And loud and clear, everything is good. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so just to catch everybody up real quick, we were working on this robot model and we had a different version of him before. And then when ZBrush 2019 came out, I actually did a PBR render and it looked good enough to kind of bid farewell to that one. And we started working on a newer version of it with a little bit of changes where we basically took some of the existing pieces that we had and we still have them and we also added some of the other pieces that were more on the inside that we dynameshed. We're going to actually sculpt on those and create kind of a hard surface and also soft surface model. So since we talked last, I did a little bit of work on this. I had a little bit of time to do it. One of the things that I did is I figured that I'd put this big kind of square or rectangular looking solid shape in his face, this thing right here. And I thought I'd just kind of shove that in there just to kind of give it a little bit more character, and it worked really good. And I figured that maybe this could be like some sort of a program cartridge that could go into his face to indicate what he does. So basically, these robots would be, there'd be different versions of it. And based on, this is where the processor goes over here. So if I hide this piece, right here, if I hide this one and move on to some of the other pieces, the processor would go right in this area. So this is where the processor would plug in, and that would be something you can update for getting faster and newer units. And then this would be the programming right here on the head, and it would have like some sort of a logo or an icon on it to indicate that what this thing does. So some of these could be used for NASA, let's say, for space program stuff. Some of them could be used for rescuing people in dangerous situations. Some of them could be used for all sorts of reasons. So we're just kind of making an all-purpose robot. And once this robot is built, then we're going to maybe make a few variants of it. Okay, and remember that another design goal that we had for this robot is that it would stand upright like this and walk around on 2 legs. But if needed to get somewhere fast, what it would do is it would go into quadruped mode, and these arms would fold forward and around, and the legs would be used to kind of move it forward. I also didn't like the feet that I had last time, so I deleted them. So maybe today we can sculpt some new feet for this. Okay, so before I get started, let me make sure there are no questions. Okay, so there's a few people on YouTube, somebody saying perfect audio. Could somebody on Twitch also chime in to make sure that the audio is good on Twitch as well? And Monel Cole is asking, how do you customize your brushes like that? Cool, if you ever get the time to show me. Okay, so are you talking about these brushes over here, Monel? You're on Facebook, so you're going to be a few minutes late in responding, but I'll wait for your response while I work. But if you're talking about these right here, these are pretty much this is just my brush list, and I basically chose my brushes. And honestly, I don't really use the brushes from here. So basically, there's two ways I use brushes. One way is I have a custom menu that I made. So if I press Control A on my keyboard, I get this menu. And these are the brushes right here that I use most frequently. And these are the commands I use most frequently. So I have one menu that has a lot of the frequent commands that I use, like symmetry, like these brushes, like delete hidden, close holes, all that stuff is in this menu. And this is ever changing. So when we started this session, this series, um, about a few months ago, my custom UI was completely different. So this comes up automatically, and these are just the brushes that are there. But it doesn't really matter because I don't usually pick the brushes from here. In a pinch, I do. I used to have them down here, but that didn't really work out well for me. But now I just basically pop up a menu wherever I am, and I pick the brush that I want. And I also have another brush menu. Artist 170, thank you about the Twitch input. And I have another brush menu that's another keystroke, and that has all of the brushes that I use on it. So, and this is again a custom menu that I've made. And if you guys are curious about how to make your own custom ZBrush UI, there's a lot of videos out there on it. The one that I really like, the guide that I really like to do this, is on ZBrush Guides, and that's Pablo Munoz's website. And he's got a really good way of explaining how to customize your ZBrush UI. And I think everybody should customize the ZBrush UI to their specific needs. So a lot of these things are pretty much the same as what ZBrush has, but I've also changed it out to kind of have some of the options that I like to use more frequently, and those are on custom menus. So I highly recommend you customize your ZBrush menu because it makes a huge difference. Okay, Monel, I hope that answered your question. If you have any more questions about that, just chime in. Okay, so here, what I have is I've got this one subtool here, which is the head, and we're going to be working on this quite a bit today, which is right here. And I have another version of it. So we were talking about this thing having multiple versions. So here's one version of the head, and here's another version, which is kind of a more scrunched up version of it. So, and this one, of course, I would have to modify the cartridge that goes into his face and these bottom parts to kind of fit. But if in the end, he would look more like something like this. Uh, it looks like he's sticking out his tongue here, which is kind of funny. And but basically, I'm just thinking of like a different version. So if I want something to be more humanoid, to have more of a flat face, and then I've got this other elongated face as well. And I'll probably be working on one of the two today, probably this one, because I kind of like the way he looks like this. And then we will continue with the other one later or not. I don't know. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going. So here's his head. I'm kind of confused about as to what this part over here is. So let's find out. That was the one head underneath. Okay, cool. And so here, this part right here is basically Dynamesh is what I'm using, and I'm using just a few brushes to get the look. I've got the overall shape, the primary forms working on this, so they look good. And now I'm going to just start to focus a little bit more on the secondary forms and maybe bring out some of the tertiary details. Okay, and for that I will go ahead and use the clay tubes is kind of my go-to brush. So here, for example, if I want this part to be a little bit outside of where it is, I'll just kind of add a little bit of thickness over here, like so. And of course, the surface is going to be messed up, and I need to flatten it out. And for that, I will use the H polish brush, which is one of my favorite brushes. And that kind of straightens it out and creates more like of a panel-y kind of look to it. And again here, I'm not really going into very high subdivision levels. Actually, I don't think I even have any subdivision levels on this. I don't think I do. Nope. So I'm just basically working at this subdivision level, and then after a while I will zero mesh it and retopologize it and UV it and all that good stuff. Okay, so here I'm just making the brush a little bit bigger just to get that plane, and I've got a little bit of relief here, and then I use the Damien Standard and the MAH cut brush to create these cut lines. And here we go. So that creates this part right here, and then maybe use the clay tubes brush again, but in the negative to create a little bit of a relief down here. I went a little bit overboard, but that's fine. Okay, and then maybe just smooth this out a little bit. And then again, use the H polish brush, which basically you can use to bring flatness to any surface. So there we go. And then I have this happy accident that happened over here where it basically created these little divots. And at this point, I haven't decided if I want to keep those as features. So let's go ahead and explore that. The Damien standard, maybe try and see if I can do this to it and see if that makes it look any better. Maybe it can look like some sort of teeth or like scoops. Or not. I kind of don't like them, so they're going to go away. All right, so now we have this part pretty much done, and then I kind of want to get a sharp edge here, so I'm again using the Damien standard on the edge to get that sharp edge, and then it cuts off over here. And again, these are all going to be different pieces that come out. So basically this would be the lock right here, and this would be like a handle, and you'd pull the handle out, pull the cartridge out, put another cartridge in, and then all of a sudden your robot is doing another function. So there could be a military one, there could be a houseware, kind of a house maintenance one, there could be a gardening one, all sorts of different robots for different reasons. Okay, and I should probably make this brush a little bit thinner. Okay, so I'm just basically going in and defining how this works, and maybe put a line over here. Okay, and again, if you have questions, please holler away. I'm just going to be working away here, and if I can't talk, I will turn on a little bit of music and sculpt away. All right, so here I don't want that 90-degree angle, so I'm going to create a little bit of a inset over here, like so, and then this is coming over to here, and then I got to figure out how this resolves, so maybe works itself up to this area over here and works itself over to here. All right, so again, these are just, I mean, it is hard surface, but also it's a little bit organic. I will have to tighten these up a little bit, but right now I'm just kind of looking for different shapes that work, and that works just fine. And here, I basically created another camera for him. So this camera over here is going to be his primary vision, but I'm also exploring possibly having multiple cameras. So this would be one that would go over here, like so, and then possibly maybe having another one. And the minute I put the eyes where kind of the eye sockets go, this thing starts looking too human. So maybe I'll explore another avenue of maybe going up, having two eyes like this. So instead of having eyes in parallel, maybe it has two eyes on top of each other. That's another avenue to explore. It kind of looks okay, but I think I'm just going to stick with just this one eye, maybe make it a little bit bigger, kind of make it look like a cyclops. There we go. Right, and then push it back a little bit, like so. Okay, so that's kind of where his main vision sensor is, and he'll probably have other vision sensors as well. Okay, and then we've got, let's go ahead and go back to Damien standard here. Switch over to this part and start maybe bringing out some of this shape over here. And I'm kind of liking this back area. I'm not really going to mess with it much. I think I'm going to leave it as is, and later on we might cut it off. But again, I don't want to have any hard 90-degree angles, so I'm kind of creating a little bit of another detail for it here, like so, and doing this as well. So this is kind of more traditional ZBrush sculpting, more or less. But soon we're going to be adding some more kit bash parts to this. I just recently purchased a kit bash part, and I tried to look up the name of the person I got it from, and before I did the streaming, but I got home a little bit late today, so I wasn't able to do it, but I got this a couple of kit bash kits, and I'll show them to you that were really good. They were like $7, and you get a lot for that. So all of these parts that we're going to use some of, all these parts are just part of that one kit bash set. And as you can see here, let me go ahead and put it on solo. So there are all these parts and all these parts. This I think is one specific part that I isolated. Then there's these ones, and just a bunch of really cool parts that you can use to add to your model. And these come in really handy, and we'll be using quite a few of them as we move forward. So just look at all this stuff. It's really cool. And of course, you could make all this stuff yourself in ZBrush, but sometimes it's easier to just kind of place these in the set. The only thing about this kit bash kit is that it is not, these are all done with a CAD program, so they're not sub-D, right? So they're basically exported from a CAD program, so the topology is not ideal, but with the new ZRemesher, that's an easy thing to fix. And if you guys are interested in finding out who this kit bash kit is from, drop me a note, and I will email you the address afterwards. All right, so moving back to our model over here, we're working on the head, like this. So let's kind of continue doing that. So here I'm just kind of bringing out some features in the head that are going to be needed. So, and I always think about functionality for these cuts and don't just put them in arbitrarily, which is something I see a lot of people do. So, you might want to think about like this kind of pulls out so that the cartridge could go in. This is kind of the basic entryway of the cartridge. This piece over here would detach, and that would be maybe the part that reads the cartridge or the part that ensures the cartridge is there. And again, you always got to think of these robots as something that's going to be serviceable in the field, so they can pull apart these pieces and put them together as needed. All right, so that's looking good. I like the silhouette of the head from the side. It's kind of, it's kind of a unique looking thing. I like it from the front here. And Alexander, okay, so if you can in Facebook just send me a kind of a link to you, or just ask it on in Messenger, and I'll send you the link for the kit bash kit. All right, so all right, I think I'm kind of happy with the way the head looks. It looks great, and then we'll start kind of bashing it up in a few minutes. One of the things I want to do here is I want to get rid of all these like sharp angles, because you don't want really sharp angles on your model. You just want them to be more kind of muted. So here, maybe this one, I'll just mute it in like that. And these are kind of looking like eyes too, but they're not. So maybe we can use these type of, maybe they're audio receptors or something like that. Okay, since this is a machine, it doesn't really have to have things where human things are. And then I have to do something with this area. Maybe I'll just put a cut line just right here like this, and continue it down this way and over, and maybe do some work on this area over here to pop it out. All right, so we have a few, we have about, let's see, looks like we're about 50 people on, 41 people. Was 15 minutes ago. All right, now let's go back to the H polish brush and do this. By the way, if you are just catching up to these streaming sessions, if you're watching the YouTube channel ones or the Twitch ones that are saved, please note that I gave everybody a coupon code last week that was for $30 off of a ZBrush subscription of 6 months, and that coupon has expired. I think March 31st was the last day. So just know that if you watch those old ones and you try to use that code, it doesn't work anymore. So hopefully those of you that were interested benefited from that, and maybe Pixelogic will do something like that again in the future. I don't know, but for now, I think it's still a pretty good deal for their subscription. Okay, so this part is looking good and I'm good with it. So here I kind of have to create a kind of a transition for this round thing over here. So I'm maybe add a cut line over here, see how that looks. And notice I keep switching back and forth between both sides. I mean, I have symmetry on, but sometimes it's good to work on this side because it makes better sense from a pen positioning standpoint. And sometimes I switch over to this one. It also gives me a different perspective. My light's right in the middle, but maybe I'll move it a bit to the side so I can kind of see what the shadows are like on these pieces. And I don't know what's going on over here, but maybe I'll just kind of dig a big groove over here, like so. All right. Okay, I'm liking that. And then I've not done anything in this area. I probably should do some work there too. That's looking okay. And this kind of way of working is pretty popular within ZBrush artists. I've seen a lot of artists do this kind of method. Furio Tedeschi works this way. I think Daytoner works this way as well. And it's kind of a cool way to just kind of get some interesting shapes. I might pop a couple of antennas here later. That might make it look interesting. And then here, I'm kind of not liking this little break over here, so let me see what I can do. I'm going to try and make the camera even bigger. Let's see if that kind of helps and move it up. There you go. I like that straight line over here a little bit better. Yep, that's working much more in the way I kind of want it to look. But that opens up this area, which I can fix. So I'm going to hide my camera, go back to the head, and let's add a little bit more geometry over here. And then just use clay tubes to close up this top part. Okay. How's everybody's week going? Pretty happy it's Friday. Some people probably it's Saturday that are watching. Right, do this, and then choose the, right, doing a quick save over here. Almost done. And so now I just want to go ahead and choose the H polish brush and kind of flatten this out like so. And then let's bring that camera back and see what it's looking like. Yeah, that looks good. I might put some other things in here, but for now this is looking pretty good. I can also lift this whole part up. Let's see what that looks like. So to do that, I'll just go ahead and mask it like so. Invert the mask. And let's bring that camera back. And then just start moving that part up. Maybe like this or like that. Let's see if one looks better than the other. That's kind of looking cool. I think I'm going to go with that. Okay, clear the mask and just adjust this part like so. And then let's go back to Damien Standard, which is one of the most awesome brushes ever made. And just kind of do this. And now that we've done all this work to the face, I want to redynamesh it, but I don't want to lose a lot of the detail I've put in. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my Dynamesh settings are correct. There we go. Yes, yes, yes. Yep, everything's fine. So let's go ahead and redynamesh it so that we add enough geometry and we can still do a little bit of work over here. Looks like this is actually going into the lens, which we don't want. Right, and then over here, maybe we break this up. Break this one shape up. like so. All right. And break this down a little bit too. And that's looking exactly the way I want it to look. All right, that's pretty badass. I think that's going to work for me. And just polish up a few other things here. And for the most part, I think I'm happy with the general shape of the head. So now I'll just jump on to another area. All right, so let's think about feet here. What are we going to do with the feet? I think I'm going to use the new kind of lightbox feature in ZBrush. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring up lightbox, and I mean spotlight feature, sorry. And by the way, I just wanted to let everybody know that I am updating these. And so if there's a patch that comes up with for ZBrush, these alphas that I provided are going to be updated. So let me bring this one up. And well, what's going on here? I'm going to go ahead and bring these over, all of them, and maybe make them a bit smaller. Move them over here. So I'm going to use these parts to create the feet for my robot. Okay, so I'm not going to do it in this set over here. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and go to new Polymesh 3D, and let's go ahead and initialize this thing as a cube again. So like that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use the thickness of this cube as excuse me, the thickness for the legs. So I'm kind of looking here to see if there are shapes that I like. And of course, another thing I could also do is I could go into this Kit Bash kit that I have. They had a pretty good foot shape over here, this one. I could use this as the foot. And I like it, but I kind of wanted to design something of my own. I might use some parts from this. So let's see, what do I like in this one? There are plenty of really cool things, and I kind of like these things over here, but I don't know if I like them in the orientation that they're in. So I'm going to, at this point, not do it that way. I'm actually going to go ahead and create my own foot from scratch. No. Okay, and let's go ahead and put this cube over here. So this cube is doing nothing at this point but dictating the thickness of the part, and it doesn't really matter at this point. And what we're going to do is start picking parts from here that are going to make up my foot. So I kind of like this, this shape right here. So I'm going to start with this one, duplicate it, and bring it over to over here, resize it. Okay, like so. And then see if I can actually manipulate it a little bit to get a more interesting shape out of it. So I just want to make sure it's selected. Then let's try flipping it around. No, and let's try doing this, extending it this way. No, but maybe extending it the other way, this way. There we go. So I'm going to extend it this way a little bit and extend it out this way so it's got this type of thing. And I'm looking at this maybe from the top of the foot. So okay, so that's looking good, and then I'm just going to go ahead and maybe start working, putting some other shapes into with this, and trying to get it to have kind of a more interesting look to it. So that's kind of the first shape I'm going to use, and then maybe go in here and choose this shape right here and duplicate it. Make it bigger and see if I can kind of place this at the center and move it up. And I don't know if you've had a chance to play around with the snapshot 3D functionality of ZBrush 2019, but does some really cool things. So this looks good right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to boolean that shape to the one underneath. So now basically this is the shape that I'm going to be working with. And let's get back to it. And then what I want to do here is mirror this thing over. So mirror is basically, I think this one right here, and I think if I hold shift down and click, so that mirrors one side to the other. So that's looking okay. And let's start adding some more parts to it. Maybe adding one of these guys right here. Maybe this one. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that, bring it over to here. And maybe that looks kind of nice. Just maybe move it up a bit. All right, to about there. Okay, and that's going to work for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and boolean that on. And then I'm going to subtract some pieces. I don't like these kind of flat sides. They're not very sci-fi looking. So maybe I'll pick this piece right here and duplicate that. Bring a copy of it over and resize it to maybe about this size, maybe a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to place that over here on one side. And I don't need it to snap, I just need it to kind of be maybe over here like so. Right, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to subtract it. So I think subtraction is control and clicking on this. Does that subtract it? Let's see. Nope. Let me look up here. Up here is where it tells you what it does. So here I'm just looking at it, and subtract is alt and click. So alt click, and that subtracted that shape from here. So now I've got this kind of shape going on, which looks a little bit better. And then I want to mirror this over to the other side. So easily done. Again, shift and this. Or is it control? Oh, I should select the piece that I want to work with. This piece, and then mirror it over to the other side. Okay, so this is looking good now. And this piece that I put over here, I don't need anymore. So this is kind of the piece that I'm making right here. Get this out of the way to here and bring this one to the center. This is the one we're working on. So these ones I've already duplicated. I don't need them. I can get rid of them unless I'm going to use them again. Maybe I'll use these ones, so I'm going to keep them for now. And what I also want to do is I want to actually work beyond this. So to work beyond this, what I do is I'll go ahead and pick this one right here, the specific object, bring it over here, and what I want to do is make it really big, to maybe about this big. And I just want to wipe it clean, so I just don't want anything on it. So to do that, I will choose the intensity button over here and max it out. And then go back to the piece that I have, this piece right here, and put it where I want it to go, probably centered, make it a little bit bigger, but that gives me a little bit of room to work on over here, and I'll just boolean it on. And now that I have that booleaned on, I have this big piece here that I have more space to work on. And I don't need this one anymore. I'm going to delete it. I have this one right here. Bring it over. And let's see what other things I can do to it. So here I'm going to go ahead and maybe make kind of two toes on this. So let me just kind of position this where I want it to be. And then go ahead and choose this one. And bring it over. And this is a really kind of a great freeing way to work by just kind of creating a two-dimensional version of what you want. So let's say this is going to be like one of the toes that's going to go in this direction. And I'm just going to move this over to here to get a good shape on the other side. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. And maybe it comes in this way, like so. right about there. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and Boolean that in. So that's a Boolean add, and I don't need this piece anymore, so I'm just going to delete it. And this is the shape I have, and I want this exact shape to be on the other side, so I'll mirror it over to the other side. Oops, maybe copy it over. Let's see, mirror left to right is Control or Shift and click. Okay, and I don't know why it's actually, oh, I haven't selected it, that's why. Okay, and then Shift click this, and then that basically mirrors it over to the other side. So this is going to be kind of the base of the foot, and it's going to have these two toes sticking out, and maybe I'll have something in the middle to kind of also be there. Maybe one of these things that looks like a key, a duplicate. Not that one, but this one right here, and bring a copy of it over and rotate it. So I'm just going to put it here in the center first. Make it a little bit bigger here. Not rotate it, make it bigger, and place it in the center here, and then rotate it around. This is something that I kind of struggle with because I hold shift down, but at first I need to rotate, then hold shift down so it locks at 90-degree angles. Still not what I want. Oops. Here we go. Okay, and then I think I undid it twice, but doesn't matter. I'm going to mirror it anyway. So here, I want it to be centered. So I just place it in the center, start moving it, hold shift down, and that centers it. So let's say there's going to be something in the center like so. Okay, and then Boolean that in. I don't need this anymore, get rid of it, and then I'm going to select this whole thing and mirror it over to the side like this. Okay, so this is going to be kind of the base of that foot. So I'm going to go ahead at this point, generate this part, see what it looks like in 3D. I've got this little opening area over here. I can close it up really easily by just choosing any part like this one, duplicating it. And the reason why I'm duplicating it is so that I have a clean copy of everything over here. And once again, same thing. I need to kind of not break this habit at some point, but rotate this and snap it this way. Maybe make it a little bit bigger and bring that over, snap it to the center like so, and then maybe just move it down over to here and Boolean that in. And the whole reason why we did that entire thing is to close up that little hole over there. And possibly, you know, I might even want to maybe add a feature and make this smaller and then subtract that. So subtract is alt clicking, so that subtracts it, and then after I get that shape out, this is the shape I'm left with. So now I want to make this in 3D. So all I got to do is, again, it's going to make it in the thickness of this cube. I'll just go ahead and click the snapshot 3D, and then, oh, I should select it first. So select this, and then snapshot 3D, and then I have a 3D part. So at this point, what I can do is, let me go ahead and hide spotlight, and this is the part I just made. Right, so, and then I can also, I don't want it to be this thick. At this point, I can adjust the thickness, and the topology on it is pretty good, right? So it basically creates this creased edge for me, and I've got it kind of doing the shape that I want. So this is going to be the bottom of the foot. Maybe this is still too much, so it's going to be like this, right? And what I want to do here is I want to go ahead and mask this part on the bottom and lift this up, and I'm going to try and see if I resize this, if I can get a more interesting looking thing, and I do. So I think this is what I'm going to go with. All right, so this is going to be the bottom part of the foot. So now I've got to start adding some pieces to it. So I can do it using the same method, or I can bring in some of the kit bash parts. So I'm going to actually go shopping for the kit bash parts, see if I can find some interesting parts in there. So here, let's go ahead and take a look at these ones. There's quite a few, and I'm going to look at some parts that could make sense being there. Let's see. What does look like something that could go in where the foot is? So a lot of really interesting shapes in here, but nothing's really jumping out at me. So I'm kind of like this one, but it's really simple. And maybe, Let's see, what are these ones over here? Let's see if this one makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this part. So to choose this part, right now I just loaded in the entire kit bash kit. So this is all of it. And what I'm going to do is select the piece that I want, which is this one right here. So I'm just going to select it, and it'll hide everything else. And then I'm going to split all the hidden parts to another tool. So now I just have this one. And then I'm going to press W and make sure that this is centered. Copy it. Right, so I'm just in the subtool menu here. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go back to what I was working on before, which is this one right here. And I'm going to paste this tool here. Okay, and then I don't really need this cube anymore. I'm going to get rid of it. And also, one of the new things in ZBrush is I can make this count a little bit less. So in this case, I just have a few, so I don't need all that space being taken up, so I don't have to scroll up and down. And now I should have both of those parts in here, but I don't know what the scale of this one is or where it is in the scheme of things. I guess it's over here somewhere. So let's go ahead and take a look at where these are in relation to each other. So if I press F and F again, I see, oh, I have solo one, that's why. Okay, and let me just kind of see where that other part is. A good way to kind of get the parts to be in the same place is just bring them both to the home area, and now they should both be, okay, so this one is here, and this one's tiny, and this one is really big, so I need to kind of scale them to fit each other. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the center of this one, bring it to home, and just scale it down to what the measure is. And at this point, I don't really care about scale. So one of the good things to do is to unify these so they are kind of in the same world space, I guess, for the same space. Excuse me. And so here's this one. And what I'm going to do is rotate it like so. Maybe size it a bit smaller. Okay, did that get rotated? It did. I don't know when. Here we go. Do this one more time. It's at 90 degrees. Bring it over like this. And maybe this part can go in with this part sticking out. Let's see, find a good place for it. Maybe over here, make it bigger. All right, I'm liking how that's fitting in there, and that's good. It's kind of hanging out over the back, so I'm going to move it forward a bit and move it over this way. All right, and now I like it, so what I'm going to do is, let me reset this around and bring the floor up just to kind of see where this is in the world axis. So everything is kind of facing in the X direction, which is not what I want. I want it to be facing up. So I'm going to adjust that after it's done with the quick save. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions, please ask away. This is going to take a couple of seconds here. With the kit bash parts in here, it's going to take a while to generate. Okay, so here I just noticed that I need to move this a little bit further here so I don't have that overhang, and maybe make it a little bit smaller, like about there. Okay, so that's good. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rotate both of these together so they are on the floor. So right now they're not on the floor. So if I turn this on, then that allows me to rotate both of them together. And I'm going to rotate them 90 degrees this way. And so now they're exactly where I want them to be. So that's good. Turn this off. And what I want to do is I want to create a copy of this exact same thing on the other side. So I'm going to mirror and weld it. Nope, I'm going to mirror and weld it in Z. Okay, so now I've got two of those things. And so this is looking good over here. So now I need to look for more parts to add to this. So let's go and look at the kit bash kit again. So again, I could either be bringing these things over from the kit bash kit, or I could be building them the way I did before. So let's take a look at these ones, see if there's a part that will go in there. I like this one right here. So again, same process. Control Shift, select this, and then split all the hidden parts. So there's another part, and then copy this one, and then go to the foot and paste it. Right, and it's probably going to be huge again and somewhere else. So let's see where it is. Yeah, so it's gigantic and it's off to the side. So let's go ahead and first bring it to the center and then resize it. Hey Daniel, good evening to you too. And so now this is kind of at a weird angle, and I was wondering if it did come in at that angle. If it did, we can easily fix it to be more, let's put this in the center. I'm going to rotate it around here. Just get that to be a little bit straighter like that. Okay, and I can use kind of these lines on the bottom here to make sure this is as horizontal as can be. Let's see, does it have any? Nope, does not have good topology to fix this. And I can always retopologize with ZBrush later. Wow, okay, so these inside parts do not correspond to this. So this is kind of at an angle. So I'm going to try and fix that somehow with, let's see if this works. So here I'm just going to go ahead and do this and go ahead and rotate it. So let's see where the floor is. First of all, let me resize it. So it's at the same, about the same size as the other pieces. All right, and then what I want to do is, maybe this will work. Hang on. Maybe this will work different than I thought it would. Okay, and can I go this way in size and not impact it much? Yep. So that's what I mean about this not being sub D, is I can't really make some modifications to it because it is a CAD model, so I'd have to ZBrush it to get something more ideal from it, but somehow it's kind of working now. All right, so the number of people watching is up to 62. Wow, that's great. So some of the new people that joined us, basically what we're doing here is we're building a foot for our robot. So this is looking good like this, and maybe I'll align up these holes and I'll put some sort of a thing in the middle of it to make it work. So maybe this kind of rotates around that pivot right here. Maybe it rotates up and down like this with the foot. So that's good. And then maybe make this a little bit narrower so it fits in that area. Okay, so that's good. And this kit bash part is going to function well over here. And I guess this would be as good a one as any to try and Dynamesh at this point, but maybe let's get a little bit more parts in here. All right, so I'm just going to go back to that kit bash kit over here, and let's see if I can find something else that would work good in that area. Let's look at some of these parts here and see if there's something that would work. I like this piece. I might use that one. And I like this piece. I'm going to use this one right now. So this one looks really good. And I can also do two pieces at the same time. So I could do this and this one. Okay, so now I've got two pieces that are going to be selected. Where'd the other one go? Right, there's this. And let's bring up everybody else. And let's do this one as well. And let's flip this around. So I just have the two pieces I want. Control A, split hidden. And that basically puts these all in a different subtool. And then I'll just copy both of these individually together and bring them in together into here. Okay, so there it is. And paste. And of course, again, they're going to come in somewhere completely different. F like that, and then here I can split them into different parts. So A, split hidden. Right, so now each one of these is its own subtool. Here's this. And again, both of these are really big for what we have here. So I'm going to go ahead and center this, resize it, and put it at the home base where all the other parts are, and then start shrinking the size of this so it fits within what I have going on. If anybody has any questions, please ask away. It gets really kind of repetitive and lonely if I'm just talking by myself. So, all right, aloha. We've got somebody from Hawaii. All right. So now I'm going to think about where this goes, maybe over here, like so. And it's basically the part that this piece right here maybe would work with. And I could probably make this a little bit bigger to give it a little bit more visual interest, like so. And just kind of go ahead and start kind of kit bashing this to be some sort of a foot that we could use. So that looks good. And I have to figure out what to do with these two pieces over here, and I'll do that in a few here. And this piece that I did underneath it totally kind of disappeared, so I'm going to see if I can move it somewhere where it still is pertinent. Maybe move it over to here, like so. And maybe this could kind of be the part that connects to the heel or the back part of the toe. All right, and let me see here. Let me look at this thing and look at the topology and see if there's anything I can do to separate anything out. Okay, it looks like it's all connected together. Oh no, maybe not. I might get away with doing this. So here I'm just going to mask this whole part, and then I'm going to try and push this part in, and it does work. So sometimes you can do some fun things with CAD created parts as well. All right, so that's looking good. And hello, Synthlox Productions, and let's go ahead and do some other things here. So I like that part there, and then I did bring another part as well, which is this one. So I'm going to switch over to it right here and put this in the center of it. What's going on? All right, here we go. Put this at the center of it. And I'm going to rotate this in the right direction and put this at the center. And start bringing this thing, of course, resize it, and let's put it at the home base. Go to the home base. I think it's still too big. And I did notice there's a question, so I'll get to you in a second here. I'm just going to do this since I'm in the middle of it and rotate it this way. Kind of an interesting looking part over here. Turn off poly frame, I don't need it. And figure out where this would fit in the grand scheme of things. It's too much, so rotate it 90 degrees. Right, and let's see. I kind of like this part to be the heel, so I'm just going to rotate this way, 180 degrees. There we go, and maybe put this back here somewhere, something like that. Right. So luckily this floor is kind of going to snap to where it is, so I can kind of see where it basically becomes more of a, let's see if this works better, like that. Lift this up. So what's really cool about this is I'm designing as I'm going along, so a lot of times people just draw this stuff out, but doing it in 3D is very freeing, and it kind of opens you up to a lot of new options that you would not think about if you're working in 2D. And I know some concept designers work in 2D, but I personally like to design in 3D because it gives me a lot more freedom, and it gives me basically a 3D model when I'm done, which is kind of a cool thing. All right, so here it is, and I can look at it from any angle and do all sorts of good things with it. All right, so this is looking good so far. Let me go ahead and I got a couple of questions. Somebody from England. First time watching my stream. Yeah, hello. And I really say hello in different languages. Sorry if I was. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. The person said that had aloha I guess was not from Hawaii. He was from England, so definitely an island, but on the other side of the world. And then I've got another question. Do you know any good tutorials on how to model Pixar-styled cartoon characters? Yeah, actually, there's a couple of streamers that do some really good streams that are more along the lines of Pixar characters or cartoony characters. I think Shane Olson has a really good one. You can watch that. And also, I don't know if Redbeard is doing streams, but I'm sure he's got some tutorials and such that you can use. And yeah, there's plenty of people that do that. Obviously, this is not the Pixar type of character. These are more maybe live action and maybe more like games that have mechs in them or robots or even real world design. Okay, so this is kind of what my foot is going to be like more or less. I might want to create some other extra pieces here. So let's go ahead and find some more on the Kit Bash set. And Zinthlox Productions, hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an idea of, so Shane Olson is the guy you want to look for his tutorials. He's always got some good stuff. And he does things that are more cartoony. And there's a few people that do them. Actually, there's probably more people that do that kind of stuff than what I'm doing. So you shouldn't have a hard time. Go to Pixelogic's YouTube channel. And here, actually, why don't I do that for you? So I'll bring up a new browser window here. Sorry about that. And if you just go to youtube.com and search for Pixelogic ZBrush, they have a whole channel right here. And let me bring that over to my screen so you can see it. So right now I'm streaming, but if you look over here, if you go to videos, there's a bunch of videos, and you can see that Iman has some Pixar looking characters. Steven Anderson has some kind of cartoony looking characters. Here we go. This one, Polygon, has some that are more kind of Pixar-y or cartoony. Here's Shane, the guy I was talking about. So he's got some really cool cartoony looking stuff. And you can kind of look through these videos, and all these people stream. They're people that are doing jewelry. Tony always has some good stuff. Brandon Isaiah has some good stuff. This guy, Ara, has some amazing stuff as well. And so you can kind of look through here and find the style that you want. And then when you find the one that you want, just follow their stream, right? So here, for example, you look at Polygon. He started out with something like this. Here's Shane, started with the mouse kind of like this. And then over time, they develop it. And there are people doing realistic looking stuff too. I think this is Donna. She does great stuff. So there's a lot of great artists on Pixelogic's channel. So you can find some really good stuff. And if you have questions, you can always tune in to when they're doing their channels. And by the way, the best way to find out is if you go to ZBrush Live. Right, so if you just go to ZBrush Live, you can go in here and you can find out the schedule, right? So as soon as this comes up, there is a schedule here, and you can find out when they're presenting, right? So there's the schedule. Right now I'm doing mine, but you can look at the future, April 6th. And so if you want to watch, let's see, Steven Anderson's, for example, he's going to be on April 10th. Iman's going to be on April 11th. And so you can find out when they're going to do theirs, and you can watch it live if you want to ask questions live, or you can watch them after the fact. But I think it's really great that this is available, and a lot of people can learn ZBrush this way and can ask questions. Okay, could you send one of their channels in the chat? I can't, but hopefully Zinthlox, that answers your question. And Guy, hello, and he's new to ZBrush, or she's new to ZBrush. I guess Guy, he. And so that's great. All of us were new to ZBrush at one point. You are in good company. It takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but if you put in the time, the rewards are amazing. I like this piece over here as well. I'm going to use that not for the foot, but I'm going to use it for the camera because it's got a lot of the features that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and split all the hidden parts and copy this one. So here I'm going here a lot to copy and paste. So next time you probably see me, I'll have this copy and paste option in the in my more in my kind of everyday UI. So for those of you that just joined, this is what we're working on. We're working on this robot. So this is the camera that I was talking about. And so what I'm going to do here is paste in that new piece that I brought in, which I don't know where it went. Let's go to it and move it over up to here. And this time it brought it in really small. Is that what happened? Or where is it? Maybe it's way off to the side. So let me put that at the center of it and go to it. There it is. It's still too big. Okay, so we'll just make that smaller. Okay, and this could be kind of part of that camera. So I don't want to obstruct what I've done so far with the camera, but I want to use maybe some of this top detail to, where did everything else go? It's not in solo mode. Did I just become big? Oh, here it is. Okay, so here we're just going to figure out a way to kind of attach this piece to whatever I have so far. And I don't know what's going on here. Oh, that's what's going on. It's all way to the side. All right, let's bring it to the home area here and just bring it up to there. Okay, fantastic. So now this is looking like it's up there. And I might even consider making a second camera like this. Let's see if this works, if this looks good. It's too much. So I think I'm just going to use this as part of this camera, maybe make it bigger. And that could be like the bigger kind of the top part of the camera like so. All right, so now that piece just basically added more to what I had before, and I need to make these concentric. And now that kind of looks cool and added this interesting little detail inside too that I can use. So maybe make this tiny bit bigger like so. All right, so I'm just basically going to add this part here. And I think at this point it's good to bring in that foot and see what it's going to look like. Here, this back part I don't really need, so I'm just going to go ahead and chop that off. Maybe just do this to it. Clip it to maybe about here, right? So this whole back part became flat. I mean, the geometry for it is still there, but I'll probably zero mesh this later on to get rid of all this overlapping geometry. But for now, it's fine. And if I'm not going to see it, maybe I won't even mess with it. I'll just leave it as is. And then maybe shrink this a bit this way. Oops. We do this to it and shrink it down. Here we go. I think this is exactly what I wanted, so that goes over there. And it's kind of cool because it gives it this weird kind of hexagonal shape over here. All right. All right, so let's see if there's any new questions. Can I get a job in the industry without a degree? Absolutely, you can get a job in the industry without a degree, but you have to be good, right? So that's kind of the important thing. Okay, so whoa guy is neither a he or a she, so that's great. They are they. And that's great. And then the next thing also is I have a question. So can you get a job in the industry? Well, getting a job in this industry, it all depends on how good you are and what the industry needs. So I would say that you can, but on the flip side, getting a degree is always better. I teach at a school that has as a degree. I teach at two schools that give out degrees. So both Art Center and Otis both have degrees in what we do here. And I do teach a ZBrush course there, and it's a very popular course. And we are almost done with this semester, and the students are working very hard on their final project. So there's a few things that a school gives you that you will not get if you are doing this on your own, and that is it will give you a community of other artists to work with. It will give you schedules to stick to, and as far as the degree is concerned, it's really not that important to get the degree. What is important is to have a good portfolio, because when you get hired in the industry, they're going to hire you based on your portfolio, and having a good portfolio is everything. And that's what I tell my students. They worry about their grades, and I tell them that their grades are good if they want to get that degree, which is fine. But what is even more important to them, that degree, is their portfolio and what is on their portfolio. So a lot of students, when they graduate from school, they don't really have a very good portfolio already. Some of them do. In the class that I have with my Otis students, their final project is to create a portfolio piece. And that's a portfolio piece that hangs on the wall of the school on the floor that we are on. And so employers see it, and if they want to work in the industry, they definitely have to make sure that their portfolio is competitive, right? So that's kind of the most important thing. And nowadays, it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. There's ArtStation. You can post your work there. It's always good to get feedback. So can you do it by yourself? Absolutely. Can you also do it at school? Absolutely. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. Hopefully that answers your question. Um, yeah, Art Center is a really great school. Um, is Hiroki still at Art Center? I don't know. I don't think I've met Hiroki. What happened here? Oh, I just jumped forward. I don't think I've met Hiroki. What department does he teach in? Well, guy, I don't know what department he teaches in, Hiroki. Is he in entertainment design? That's the department I'm in right now. I'm also looking to be in automotive because you can also use ZBrush to do automotive work. ZBrush and other programs. Oh, he's alumni. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't met him. I would love to meet him. I know a lot of Art Center people from before and the classes that I've taught. I've taught some really amazing people at Art Center. I've been lucky to have some amazing students there. At Otis too. It's so funny. The schools are both art schools, but they're very different in so many ways. They both have a lot of positives and some areas where they're completely different. I went to school at Noman, and that is another amazing school. So we're lucky in LA, in Los Angeles, we have really good schools that teach this stuff. All right. Okay, I'm kind of liking the way the helmet is coming together. So at this point, I'm really happy with the helmet design, and we kind of moved off the foot, so let's go back and see what's going on there. So here's my foot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that each one of these pieces is a different polygroup. So here I'm just going to make sure that I turn this on and do a quick BPR render to see if they are different poly colors. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm going to merge them, but then if I'm going to separate them out, I want them to separate out into their own individual polygroups. So I'm going to do a Control W here. So this is one polygroup, this is one polygroup, and I'm going to continue to do Control W so it's a different color, and this is a different polygroup. These are a different polygroup, and this is a different polygroup. Okay, so I've got all these pieces together. And now what I want to do is just go ahead and click on, go to here, say merge visible. And what that's going to do is just give me one piece that's just all of them together, right? And I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to go back to my entire model here and paste it. Okay, and so I don't know where to put it, probably in the center somewhere, and it's tiny. So I'm going to make the scale bigger, rotate it this way. Right, and there's going to be the foot, right? So I'll go ahead and put it in one of the areas here. So it's going to go over here like so. And I'll figure out a way to kind of, put some other pieces here to connect this up. And that looks good. And now what I want to do here is also mirror this to the other side. Maybe make this a little bit bigger. So this kind of freedom is really awesome when you are doing design because it really gives you the capability to, you know, if you drew this and it wasn't to scale, you'd have to lasso it up and rescale it and put it in there. But this is kind of really easy to do too. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm just going to go ahead and mirror and weld this to the other side. So I have both of them and see what that looks like with that polyframe on, and that looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. It kind of is not matching with some of the rest of the model, which looks really clean. So I might be putting a kind of maybe some sort of a rubber piece or something that goes on top of this. So I can still kind of see the inner parts a little bit through something or another, but also be able to kind of conform to the rest of the look of the robot. And the other thing I want to do here is I want to go ahead and take a couple of these cylinders. So these cylinders basically are motors that allow my robot to move. And what I want to do here is just kind of mask a couple of them, invert the mask like so, and then maybe create copies of them to go over here. Right, so I'm not really caring about both of them going in the same place, but I want one of these to go over here, like so, but be thinner, and then another one to go over here. Okay, and then also what I want to do here is shrink the size of this. I'm not worried about what's going on over here right now. I'm just worried about what's going on over here. So I'm just going to mask this. So this kind of snaps to the center, and I'm going to bring this down to here. And I'm going to also unmask this one, like so, and also shrink its size down. I guess I need to mask this one again and mask this one again. All right, and I just want to bring the size of that one to about the size of this one. Okay, so now that that's good, I'm just going to do this and then just mirror and weld this to the other side. So now I got this on both feet. Okay, so now I've got these kind of same looking motors that are driving my robot. I've got two over here for the knees, two over here for the arms, and I've got two over here for the feet. I could put another one here, but I think I'm going to go with something different later on. Okay, so that's good for the feet. And I kind of started working on the fingers a few weeks ago, but I didn't finish, so maybe we'll do a little bit of that today. So we're at about 8:14. We have a little bit of time. All right, so a couple of people are here, Samus and Samuel. Hello, guys. And wow, we're about exactly 50 people. That's amazing. All right, so now that I've got these pieces here on the bottom for the foot, what I want to do is I want to separate them out. So I'm going to go ahead and select these like so. Oh, am I still on? Yeah. All right, I just want to separate these out and split the hidden parts. And then these parts right here, I should just merge with the feet. So where are the feet in here? So this is what we have right now. This is our inventory of parts, and the feet are they at the end? Where are you, feet? This was the older foot that I had, which I'm not going to use, but where are the new ones? Are these the new ones? I don't think so. Here they are, right here. Okay, so I guess what I need to do is take these ones and bring them down to where the feet are, and then merge these ones down. Let me make sure I choose these and polygroup them as well, because then if I need to ever separate them, I can separate them by polygroup. And then choose the feet and merge down. So now this is going to all be one piece that I can hide and show. So here, if I want to hide and show the feet, these are the feet. Okay, so now I've got these feet, and they're looking okay. And all right, so somebody asked a question. Hey Ryan, how's it going, man? A long time no see. Hope everything's well with you. And let's see. Okay, yeah, I did Dynamesh a while ago. I did that with this head, right? So remember when we were working on the head, at some point I Dynameshed it, right? So this is Dynameshed piece right here. This is what it looks like. And I can re-Dynamesh it now, but I don't want to lose some of the detail at this point because I'm still going to sculpt on it. Okay, so now I'm back to the whole thing. And we'll do Dynamesh on a few other parts. So now I kind of want to switch to this part right here and maybe start adding some more detail to it. So this is kind of the stomach part, and it's going to be a kind of a bendable object, right? So it's not going to be a stiff object, it's going to be something that bends, right? Because especially when he goes into quadruped mode, this is going to bend quite a bit backwards and forwards. And again, this is really simple geometry right now. It's ZBrush, so it's kind of giving me really nice topology here, and it's pretty low resolution. So if I want to get a little bit more detail out of this, I might need to divide it. So that's what I'm going to do. So this was Dynameshed before, I ZBrushed it after. So let's go ahead and I'm going to cancel whatever that was, and let's go ahead and give this a level of subdivision. So now I've got a little bit more geometry to work with. And there was one other question. Does Dynamesh destroy the model or need to merge all the parts first? Well, Dynamesh is, Dynamesh basically will remove some detail, but you can do some things to maintain the detail as much as possible. But I don't really need to Dynamesh things just yet. Right, so I'm kind of going to create a little bit of an area here where this is bending. So I'm just going to assume that this thing is going to kind of fully be bending forward. So I'm going to have to figure out where this would create some folds and creases. So here I'm just basically going in with and enhancing the shape of it. Maybe make this a little bit flatter. Give this a little bit more of an edge. Push this in a little bit. And again, I can do this with clay tubes, or I can do this with Damien Standard, which is what I'm using right now. Okay, and then here there's kind of this interesting feature that I want to bring out, and probably I'm going to pop some sort of part in there later on. And so I just basically continue to work here little by little. So I'm assuming this is going to bend, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a little bit of a fold over here. And for those, it's better to break symmetry and do it. But for now, I'm just basically putting in a little bit of the initial kind of placeholders for where it's going to go. Okay. So again, this is going to completely bend. So that's where there's a little bit of wrinkle action going on here. All right. Ryan, how have you been? Haven't seen you forever. We should get together soon. Okay, so that's there. So yeah, I'm kind of liking the way this is coming together, and just simplified a bit. Right, so this is totally looks like it's going to bend forward. The only thing that I have is this kind of solid piece here, but I can go ahead and kind of create some distress around it as well. Probably fits into some sort of a socket over here. Right, that's good. Right, leave that alone, and then let's see what the back looks like. Okay, so I can do quite a bit of work here on the back. Create some, again, beginning areas for the folds back here. All right, and this kind of piece here is just like a big rubber piece that bends backwards and forwards. Like so. Right. And we can work on this part right here. flatten this out. Maybe get this flatten brush and just kind of do this to here. And I'm trying to get kind of some hard surface looking parts over here. This part right here that's sticking out we'll have to fix later on. But here just H polish to get more defined shapes. Find some interesting shapes over here. And do this. Right, that's coming along. And then here, I kind of don't like this being so angly, so I'm just going to go ahead and harden it up as a hard surface thing. Maybe do the same over here as well, and over here, and over here. All right. All right, so the center part is looking good. This part right here, this part right here is all going to be a piece of rubber that's going to go over the top part over here, and it's going to be transparent, right? So I think I made it transparent last time. Let me render it to see if it kept it. If not, I can just redo it. So here, if I just do a quick BPR, yeah, you can see that this is a see-through part, right? So this here is going to be see-through, and you're going to be able to see these pistons and stuff underneath it. And it's probably going to have like some sort of a pattern on it. It's going to be like some sort of hardcore material that basically just attaches to it. And we'll put some attachment pieces here to connect it up, right? So these are the two buttons that he needs to press. Lifts this part up, takes the processor out, and puts the newer, more badass processor in later if he needs to. Okay, all right, so now we've got the feet going. We've got, let's work on the hands and see what we can do there. Okay, so here are the hands. And for the hands, I just had some Z-sphere models that I brought in. And I kind of like the way they look, but I think they need a little bit more work. So let's go ahead and go to the move brush here. And start moving these around. Right now they're symmetric, which is fine. So I'm just going to kind of put them in their sockets over here. And maybe extend out the fingers, make them a little bit more articulated, like so. I kind of really like the way this is sticking out like this, so I'm going to accentuate that. And then maybe I can do something equivalent over here. Same with this, same with this, oops, like that. And then there is one more over here. That's the front one. And that's that. Okay, so that's kind of what his hands are going to look like. Pretty kind of, they look like they mean business. I wouldn't mess with this thing with hands like this. I don't know about you. All right, so that is looking good like as a starting point. And then what we need to do is go ahead and figure out. So I'm just basically using this as a starting point, and then I can either chop it up into different pieces and then build them, or I can actually build different pieces that would go in their place, right? So right now, this is pretty innovative kind of look that I've got going on here. So I'm going to leave that be. Oops, that didn't work out too well. I'm going to leave it be like this. He can definitely screw on and off a light bulb with this hand. And I was kind of at some point thinking of making his feet be like this as well, but I decided against it. But maybe there could be a version that has them. I mean, I don't have to finish this thing ever. I can always be modifying it and doing new stuff to it. And again, since it's not a 2D drawing, I could be doing that all the time. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit more of a kink here to this, so it looks more like a real hand. And again, I'm trying to, make this as robotic as possible, but I'm also trying to make it relatable by humans. So I'm trying to give it more human characteristics. So this might make it look a little bit more like a hand, like so, and give it this little bit of a kink over here. And at any point in time, it's always good to kind of take this into silhouette mode and see what the silhouette would look like. And the silhouette's looking pretty good. Also, right now, I don't have perspective on. So it's always good to turn perspective on, maybe put in a 50mm lens and see what this thing looks like from far away. It looks good, pretty recognizable. If this thing was running away like this far away, I would be able to detect what it is. And yeah, so it's looking good. Let's go ahead and bring back a different material here. Let's go ahead and make it reflective to see what a reflective version of this would look like. That looks good as well. So again, just kind of checking it out here. And let's get back to basic material and continue to work on it. Okay, so we're at 8:30. We're doing good on time. So let's go ahead and work on these pieces. So what I did for these pieces, if you remember them correctly, so I'm looking at this kind of shin piece over here. I'm going to solo it out. If you remember what I did with these is basically these are coming from that Z-sphere model. And let me go ahead and turn double on for this. It is on, okay. And I need to move these pieces out this way. And I've kind of these have been around for a long time. I've just kind of changed the way they look. And one other thing I want to do to them here is give them some thickness. So here I got to decide whether I'm going to go out or in. It looks like I like the way that they are. I don't want to make these parts any thicker. I kind of like them to be this thin. So what I'm going to do is go inwards. Okay, so to go inwards, I'm going to go to ZBrush, like so. And then I'm going to Q-mesh all polygons, like so. Okay, and let's make sure that this is, yeah, see it's going inside out, so I just need to make sure I flip it to the right direction. So display properties, flip, okay, there it is. And I don't know if I want this much thickness, maybe more thickness. Let's go ahead and go back. And the problem is it's kind of collapsing into itself, so maybe I will go out a little bit more. And I also will go in. So let's bring up polyframe. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and accept that. So now we basically have this kind of piece that is going to be over here, and all the other parts are going to go inside of it, right? And then go back to the move brush here and make some adjustments. And this is very low polygon right now, so there's almost no geometry here. It's very, very low poly, and that's exactly the way I want it to be. And maybe bring this over to here and lift it up. All right, and let's see, any new questions? No. Okay, cool. And just move this into place like so. And I'm liking the way this is kind of going to the side. I'm not going to mess with it that way. And this is looking good too. And let me look at it from the inside this way. I just want to make sure that this piece here is connected correctly. All right, let's bring everybody back. All right, so this is looking good like so. And let's bring this up as well to here. Fantastic. All right. So now I've got this piece pretty much settled up, and I don't really know if I want to do much more to these. I think I like the way they are, kind of simple and straight. What I might do though is I've got people screaming next door. Hopefully it's nothing major. All right, so this is looking good like this, and I've got an acting school, a neighbor, so maybe they're practicing their acting. Right, this looks like that. And this is looking good as well. And yep. All right, so let me make sure, one other thing I should do here is just make sure that there's none of this inside part is intersecting. So I just kind of hit the inside part with the shift with smooth to just bring those pieces in, because I don't really care about the inside. Nobody's going to see it, but I do want to have this part to have a little bit of thickness. And again, once I'm happy with it, I will subdivide it to there's some intense acting going on next door. All right. All right. Okay, so this is looking good. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing to this top piece. So go over there and let me solo it out. And let me also determine this one. I think I also want to have it move inwards. Oh, this bottom part, I should make sure I go to double and make sure it's facing the right direction. All these kinds of things come up later on in troubleshooting, but it's always good to fix things as you go as well. So this top part looks good. Let me solo it out and also go to the ZBrush and QMesh all polygons inward like this to get a little bit of thickness for it. And turn solo back off. And so now this part has thickness also. All right, and I did that earlier with this arm piece over here. I just need to also do it with this piece. And so I'm going to do that right now also. Okay, so I choose that, solo it out. And this one I want to go inwards as well, like so. Okay, that's good. And again, let's make sure, yep, this one's inside out, so I need to flip it. And this one over here, let's make sure that this one is correct as well. Yep, I need to flip that one too. All right, so now everything's facing the right direction. We're good to go. All right, I've done a bit of work here, and I think at this point it's a good idea to go ahead and see what a render would look like on one of these guys, right? So I did that a little bit before in a previous episode, so let's go ahead and do the same thing. What we're going to do is just go ahead and turn on Keyshot right here. Actually, I'm not even going to go to Keyshot. I'm just going to use one of the new BPR renderers. So I'm just going to go to Lightbox here. Let's see what this thing looks like as a kind of a cartoon piece. So let's choose this one, and let's go ahead and hit BPR. Okay, and what we can do here is instead of actually going in and choosing them from the render menu, I can go to the filters. And as I click on a filter, I can see it with that filter. So let's see if this one does a better job. Maybe this one. That's kind of interesting. That's interesting as well. So find one that kind of looks interesting and just go ahead and so that looks good from this angle. Let's go ahead and turn it around, do another BPR. Looks good from that angle too. The feet are looking really nice. I like what I came up with over there. I like the hands and how kind of menacing they look. But they shouldn't look menacing. I mean, they should look like they can hold things and manipulate them, turn them, whatever. And then let's go ahead and make sure this looks good. Can you guys hear my neighbors? They're pretty loud. All right, that's looking good. Okay, so let's go ahead and try some other render options here. Let's see what looks like, maybe like this. Let's see what that looks like. And render it this way. Ooh, that looks pretty neat. Right, that looks good right there, just in that form. So if I was kind of doing a graphic novel, then I can basically do it this way. There's an apple seed feel to the feet. Okay, sure, yeah, why not? We're all influenced by the same stuff, right? Okay, and here let me go to BPR filters. Actually, I could just go Lightbox, and let's choose some other filters and see what this looks like. Because sometimes when you render it, it kind of gives you some ideas. This one I like a lot. It looks like a painting. Right, that looks good. And maybe I'll turn polyframe off. I might get a different result. If I ever want to see what it looks like as a blueprint, there's a really nice blueprint renderer here. That looks okay. And then maybe I'll do one more, and then we'll get back to working on this. I think I like this one. Paul made this one, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, yeah, look at this one, how cool it is. And then, right, from the side, 3/4 view, back side view. Nice. And these BPR filters, they churn pretty fast, so that's kind of an interesting. I like the way it looks from the side. Pretty recognizable. Would love to see this thing in a movie sometime. So if anybody knows any directors, show it to them. Okay, I think that I'm kind of done with the filters. Maybe I'll do one last one. Which one? Well, painting one is neat. And I kind of like this one a lot. So I'm going to go to this one. Let's see what it does. Yeah, pretty neat. Really interesting. And I can tweak the settings for this too. But for now, I think overall it's still kind of holding up. So I will just go ahead and set this back to normal render. So if you kind of are playing around with these and you want to go back to the way ZBrush is normally, there's this default here. You can just click on the default and everything will be set to the default view. Okay, so let's see what we should work on next. I kind of want to work on these arm muscle pieces, so let's go ahead and go to those. Notice I keep jumping around. I don't stay on one piece for a very long time, and I think that's a better way to work because it makes it possible for you to work on the entire model versus like work on one piece and just get it to really kind of a polished state, but then find out later on that it's not fitting with the overall model. So a good thing to do is always to keep moving around the model and changing things up as you go. Anybody in here work for a game studio? Just kind of curious. And maybe I can put a little bit of a divot here. So this piece over here, if I solo it out, it's just these two arm pieces. That's all they are. And they're just basically muscle pieces. And maybe I could put a little bit divot. Ornamental architecture, that's kind of cool. And not anymore. Uh-oh. Was it fun when you did work for a game company? Was it on a cool game at least? I don't want to do too much work on this. I think it's just going to be kind of one piece. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Not, adding too much detail usually destroys the model. So you kind of want to make sure it was amazing. It was, and wow. All right, cool. What games did they produce? If you don't mind my asking. Right here, I'm just kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. I'm probably going to add some kit bash parts over here just to make it over TBC and Woltech expansions. Okay, I don't know. What games do they make? So here I'm going to try and hard surface up this area. And I also want to make this so that it bends correctly. And notice I've got a bunch of different overlapping pieces, which is kind of a way I work. So here, I've got this piece. Let me solo it out. So there's this piece, right? And you can see here that it's kind of been chewed up or whatever, but some of it is showing up and it's kind of in this color. And then I've got this other piece as well. And this one goes underneath that one. So this one goes underneath that one. It shows through. So here, if I just show those two pieces, you can see that you can kind of see that other one underneath. And this one goes over it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my move tool here, and I'm going to turn on AccuCurve and try and sharpen up some of these angles. Oh, World of Warcraft. Oh, nice. Yep, that works. A lot of my students want to work for Blizzard. And I know some people who work there, and they love it. All right. So I'm just basically making these angles here a bit sharper so they're more hard surfacey. And do the same over here. Maybe lift this up. Okay. All right, so that's good. And then let's see here. At this point, I might want to check out what this thing would look like in quadruped mode. And so for that, I'm going to go ahead and use a plugin, Transpose Master. Before that, let's go ahead and do a quick save. It hasn't saved for a while. All right. As you can see, I've got quite a few plugins. Okay, and now I'm just going to go into Transpose Master and click on T-Pose Mesh, which is basically going to create a mesh for me that has all of these pieces together, and then I can work on it as just one model. And I've done that quite a few times here. You can see that throughout the process, I've got different versions of what I've worked on, and I've been always kind of trying to see what it would look like as one piece. So here I'm going to see what the model will look like in bipedal form. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe turn on symmetry first, and then maybe go to mask lasso, and then lasso out the arms like so. Okay, and what I also want to do is I want to have this part over here. So go to mask pen and mask out this part as well, and this is where it's going to completely kind of bend around for it to be in biped mode. And I'm just going to invert that mask, go over this way like so, and rotate this whole thing like this, right? So this back part will rotate and open up, so there will be parts in here. So it's going to kind of, it's going to rotate like that, right? So that's the first thing that'll happen, right? So imagine you're watching a movie, and the first thing that happens is arms come in like this. And then the next thing that's going to happen, I'm going to mask this part like so, and then this part's going to turn around this way and this way, right? So this is going to fold downwards and go up like that, right? So this is going to be this part of it, and then the legs will bend as well. I'm in perspective mode. This could be disastrous, but it's fine. This is just me playing around. This is not, none of this stuff is going to be final. This is just me kind of checking my work at this point to see where it would be. So I'm going to go ahead and mask this way, and then go to mask lasso and mask this part, and then invert the mask and bring this over to here, and this whole part over here is going to rotate this way, right? Maybe go up a bit like so, and then rotate all the way down. I think the arms I've moved up a little bit too much, so I probably see this is the kind of stuff that I do this for, is I try to figure out how will this work so that it will be good. And then lastly, let's go ahead and move the head up, maybe about here, and rotate this straight forward, bring it over, and let's invert the mask and rotate the head up, right, and over like this. So it would kind of be more or less something like this. I think I'm going to need to move the arms down a bit. Right now it looks a little bit funny. Right, so let's go ahead and do this again. Here are the arms, some really funky stuff happening over here, but again, I'm not really going to care about any of this stuff yet. I'm just kind of going to go for the overall look. So here is going to be, maybe this bends around and turns around this way. So I'm just kind of trying to find a way for it to work. And maybe this extends out as well, a bit like this. It's not working. Maybe from this point to this point, this part here extends out, right? So then he basically can run, and so he can run really fast with 4 appendages versus just 2 to get to place faster. And then once he's done, he kind of straightens himself back up, right? So this is all kind of good stuff to try out at this point, just to kind of get an idea of whether or not that's going to work. And I mean, there was some funky stuff that happened there, but I think overall it will work. So that's a good thing to know at that point. Okay, so now go back to our initial model. Um, okay, and all right, so you worked in the English GM department. What does GM, English game department? Nothing to do with the game development or graphic designing department. I would recommend any die-hard gamer fans to apply. You never, okay. I'm kind of having a hard time understanding you, Kitsune. Kitsune. I don't know what you mean. Oh, never know. Okay. You never know. Okay, I see what you're saying. All right, cool. All right, so now the other thing I want to do is these pieces that I kind of separated out, so these ones right here, I'm going to go ahead and make them a little bit more detailed, right? So right now they're really very simple polygon shapes. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and make them a little bit more sophisticated. And I'm going to do that by using dynamic subdivision. So I'm going to turn on dynamic subdivision. Okay, and that's exactly what I want right there. Just one shot. The only difference is that I've got a little bit of weird stuff happening over here, but I think if I turn constant off, that will give me exactly what I want. And then this kind of hanging bit over here I don't really like, so let me fix that. So again, what's nice about dynamic subdiv is you're still working with very low number of polygons, so the modifications are easy to make. And I'm just going to lower that part down a bit so that it works better. Like so. Okay, yep. So see again, this looks like it's highly detailed, but it's realistically not because it's still the same number of polygons. I just turned dynamic subdivision on, and I kind of like this look now, so I'm just going to go ahead and apply this geometry. So that basically will add the geometry for it for me to get that look. So now it has the same look as before, but it's a little bit softer, and I can go in and sculpting cut lines in this, which I will do in a little bit. So same thing with this one piece over here. So I'm going to jump over to it, turn on dynamic subdiv. This one did not come to the same type of result. It's too soft, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get some sharper edges. Here we go. That's looking a little bit better. Turn constant off. That's kind of cool too. And let me see if I can kind of play with QGrid here to get something more along the lines of what I want. Maybe do the coverage this way. So I kind of want to get these sharp edges, but I don't want them to be too sharp like they're low poly. I think this is looking good, so I'm going to go ahead and apply this. So now again, I've got the geometry that supports this, and wow, this is way, way, way too much. 3 subdivision levels. Let's see what it looks like at 2. 2, it's better. How about at 1? At 1 subdivision level, it looks okay too. So I'll just leave it at this. That's fine. And I'll probably zero mesh it later on. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with this part. Right here, turn on dynamic subdiv. There it is. And this part seems like it's going inwards, which is not what I want. So let's move this out. And again, this is, since it's dynamic subdiv, it's a very few number of polygons that I'm manipulating, so it's not that big of a deal. And just kind of keep moving these around until I get it to where I want it to be. All right, so we're kind of at 8:50. I'm going to end this thing at 9, so we got about 10 more minutes. So if you have some last minute questions, please ask. And if there are any observations or anything, let me know. I think we've got 2 more sessions left after this, 1 or 2, and so we'll try to finish it up and get some good renders out of it. This has taken me a little bit longer than I thought it would, but that's usually the way it goes. But hopefully it's been useful for you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of this weird overhang over here. I'm going to try and see if I can use it for anything, but for the most part, I think I just want to get rid of it. I like this, the way this happens this way. and then maybe kind of create a bit of an elbow there for the guy or for the thing. And let me see if I can sculpt on this, create some interesting shapes. And again, these pieces right here, the joint pieces are going to be malleable, kind of some sort of film or plastic that goes over whatever motors are inside, just to protect it from dust and things like that. But this is completely bendable, so is this. So is this piece right here. So the only orange pieces are the only pieces that are basically solid metal. Everything else is bendable. Of course, these are solid metal as well. The hands I haven't decided yet, so I'll have something more definitive on them next time. And the good news is I'm getting some free time here to spend on the model, so I can develop it a little bit from session to session. But if I find that I'm doing something that would be useful for you guys, I hold off on it or repeat it in the stream just to make sure that you get the gist of it. And there's nothing I enjoy more than just spending the time doing these things. All right, so one of the things I did here is I worked on this part right here, and it wasn't mirrored over, right? So easily enough to fix. I'll just do this and delete hidden and mirror and weld. And with the new mirror and weld, whatever side is missing, it will fill in for me. There's some funky stuff going on over here, but nobody's going to see it, so I don't care. All right. So that shoulder piece is done, and it's kind of slowly, excuse me, but surely coming together. So I'm just looking over to see if there are any questions. I don't see any, which is good news. We still have 50 people on. That's great. Everybody's still here. Hope you're enjoying it. And yeah, let's see what other parts I can go to. So here I'm going to go ahead and try some cut lines. So obviously this piece is not just one piece, that it'll have to kind of be taken apart at some point. And I will create some screw holes and some other parts for it. And did I keep that one thing? There's another thing that I will talk about here probably next week, and it's a way that I discovered. I guess I'll give you a quick preview of it. It's a way that I discovered to do this, right? So basically, I took this little piece here, and I wanted to fuse it with this cube. And when I turn on the polyframe here, you'll see that this is all good topology, right? So this inside part here is zero meshed, and it looks really great, and it merges with this outside part very cleanly as well, and all these kind of parts come together, right? So then I can kind of smooth out this edge, and this is what it looks like overall, which is a really nice way to merge these together. And I use that with a couple of different tools in ZBrush, so stay tuned. I might create a tutorial, a Gumroad, just for this capability alone, and also share that with you guys as well. I probably won't charge for it, but I don't know yet. Right, so now if I move my light around, you'll see that this piece is kind of embedded in here, but also the topology of it is just perfect, right? And you know, for something like this, it used to take me a long time to actually retopologize, but now I can do that very easily with this new method that I came up with. And we'll be talking about that later when I go in and start putting these types of features onto the surface of these parts. All right, so I got about 5 more minutes, and let's go ahead in those 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and use Damien Standard, or actually for this one, I'm actually going to use MAH Cut. Let's make sure there are no questions. Doesn't look like it, which is a good thing. And then let's go ahead and turn symmetry on, make sure perspective is off. Okay, and make sure I'm on this part right here. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to figure out, okay, so if this was a part that was added on, how would we take it apart? And most probably there would be some sort of a seam over here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and draw that seam out. Looks like this has RGB on. Well, maybe I'll turn RGB on. Why not? I'll actually be able to see it better. Maybe choose a bigger size here. And maybe right here is where that separation is. I want to increase the lazy mouse here. lazy radius to maybe about 115. All right, I got a big question over there. I'll get to you in just a minute. Let me just draw this thing out first. Okay, so I'm going to try and not go along with this. I'm going to try and kind of assume that the cut line would go a little bit differently, like maybe like this, and like that. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. Nope, don't like it. All right, maybe I'll solo these pieces out. How about if they go like this, kind of start over here in the back, and maybe cut across this way and go down like that. That's a little bit better. I don't like this right angle over here, so I'm going to see if I can get rid of it just by adding this feature over here, in which I can add some part or some screw hole or something like that, and do this to it. That's okay, but I'm not liking it. But I like what I did. I just don't like that 90-degree angle. So I'm going to do something similar. Start out this way, come around this way, okay, and then maybe go this way. So now I don't have a 90-degree angle. I've got more of an obtuse angle, and maybe angle this back and down like this. Okay, that I like. All right, and then I want to color this all orange, so I'm just going to do that and fill object. So now I've got this cut line over here, and so that kind of is going to remove the back piece, and then I got to do one on this side too. So let's go ahead and go back to white here, and I got to figure out how to do this one. And this one's got to look good because it's going to be on the outside and everybody's going to see it. The inside part is not that visible, but the outside part is definitely going to be visible. So for this one, I think I'm going to do it this way. So again, start over here. This is where the piece is going to separate out. Come around this way, move down, over again, and out. Okay, and I am liking that too. So this back piece here would, people would unscrew these pieces, and this front part would come out, and the back part would come out. Okay, so let's just fill that object with orange as well and see what that looks like. It looks good. I like the way the lines are flowing, and it's working for me. Okay, and then the last thing I want to decide is whether or not I'm going to have this little bit of a kind of, I don't know if I want this thing to be straight or to have this little bit of an edge. The little bit of an edge looks good, but it kind of disappears up in here, so I need to figure out what to do with that. Let's pick Damien Standard here, make this brush size a little bit bigger. And I want to go the other direction, so I'm just going to click on Z add. And I'm also going to increase my lazy radius to all the way and just lay this one down like so, and maybe go up to the top as well. Maybe start out here and just drop it down. So there and there. Okay, that's good. I just don't need that much intensity. I need it with less intensity. All right, so there is that. No, a little bit more. I'm just going to kind of accentuate this little bit of a lip that it had over there. There it is. And there it is over to here. And just kind of smooth it up a bit. So then I kind of have a little bit of that ridge, but not too much of it. Okay, so let me get to your question and answer it, and then we'll call it a night. So I found that today you can still use ZModeler points, infinite depth move on a subdivided model by using transpose master. Just figured you'd find it interesting since it's helpful when okay. Yep, yeah, yeah, transpose master really helps. That's correct. And I don't, did you find out about it in, Travis, did you find out about this at the in this in the stream, or did you find out about it outside of the stream? I'm just curious. Right, let me just make sure I get my laser radius back down. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's Transpose Master is really kind of one of those super useful tools in ZBrush. Super useful plugin. I remember when it first came out, it really made a huge difference in my workflow. Right, let's see here. I want to kind of go in here and kind of fix this area. I probably will put some parts in here. I had one earlier. I didn't really like it, so I might put some parts in here. Basically, this whole part here is going to bend around, so I need to figure out a way to kind of put some other parts in here to make that possible. So that's probably going to be something I either do offline or do in a couple of Fridays when I resume the stream. Okay, so while this is saving, I just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in again, and we will continue this not next Friday, but the Friday after. And if you want to watch this again to catch some of the things that you might have missed, you can definitely catch it on the channels. The video will be up probably in a few days, and then you can just catch it on either the YouTube channel, the Twitch channel, or on Facebook. It'll be in the Pixelogic library of videos. Okay, Travis has one last question. You can't use this. Oh, you can't use it when you. Okay, yeah. So that's a very good point. So what you're saying here is that you can't use ZModeler on a regular subdivided mesh, but you can use it when you switch to Transpose Master. And the reason for that is when you use Transpose Master, what that does is it basically takes all the different tools here and gets them to the lowest subdivision level and puts them there. So yeah, you can use it there. Another thing you can also do, I don't know if you knew about this, but here if I have, well, let me show you that too. So here, let's say if I've got this model right here, and it's lets me divide it a couple of times like so. And if I wanted to work on this model and with ZModeler, I can't. So now if I go to the ZModeler brush and I do work, it tells me that it's composed of multiple subdivision levels. So another thing you can also do is you can freeze the subdivision levels like this. So the problem with that is it's always going to go to the lowest subdivision level. So this would be kind of similar to doing what you did before. And then you can do, you can QMesh a single polygon here. You can make your changes like so, and then you unfreeze it, and it goes back to the original shape. So Travis, that's another way you can do the same thing without having to use Transpose Master. You can just freeze the subdivision levels. And another thing you can also do is, of course, if you want it to be like this, and you want to work on it and this way, you can always delete the lower subdivision levels. So duplicate it first and then delete the lower subdivision levels, and then you can use ZModeler on this part like so. Okay. All right. Okay, you're welcome, Travis, and everybody else. Again, thanks a lot for joining me, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.